What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Prodigy, and I'm with my co-host Noir Little Bomber, and welcome to the Datascape episode. Whatever, I have no idea. I don't keep episode count, but today is a Kairi episode, one of our first ever character-focused episodes of the Datascape. We talk a lot about Kingdom Hearts 4 and Missing Link and other random Kingdom Hearts topics, but I want to start doing more of these like dedicated episodes where we just talk about a select character, maybe a select world or a moment in the franchise, because Kingdom Hearts has like a dozen plus different games, all filled with insane stories, insane moments, some of our favorite characters in media. And there's so many like little moments that happen in like 5 minutes that I could talk about for like probably hours. And Kairi is a character who fits that analogy pretty well, because she's a character who doesn't have a lot of screen time in the Kingdom Hearts series, yet is still a character that always happens to be in the discussion. Sometimes for negative reasons, sometimes for positive, uplifting ones. I would say recently Kairi has been on a uptick. People are more optimistic about their character, at least since Kingdom Hearts 3. Melody of Memory, Remind, I think did a lot for her character, but we'll dive into that a little more in a moment. Noir, how are you feeling about Kairi? I know you're the big Kairi stan over here.
Yes, after Kingdom Hearts 3, I basically outed myself as a huge Kairi defender, huge Kairi stan. I made a whole hour-long video over the concept of a Kairi game, and I treated it so seriously. I added like this subtle little teaser at the beginning of every video as if it was like for an actual Kingdom Hearts game. I released a trailer for the video. Like I've never done that before. And like so it was I'm definitely a Kairi stan through and through. I definitely think that given that the Dark Seeker saga, besides focusing on Sora, was about building up the main cast as well as uh, character development for Riku. Now that we have already moved past that, I genuinely think that we are now hitting a point where we're gonna have more Kairi development, and it's gonna be decent. I think that Kairi is definitely being set up for a lot of good stuff. They just have to make sure they do it correctly.
I agree. I think execution is kind of the big thing when it comes to Kairi that people are worried about, because I would say that's the story when it came to Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, Kairi in Kingdom Hearts 3 is a character who I actually think she did improve in some ways in Kingdom Hearts 3. She got characterized a little bit more. You saw her interacting with characters she doesn't normally interact with, mostly in Remind, but in KH3, the base game as well. I think the main issue with her in KH3 really is just that Xemnas scene where she's once again, for the third time in the third number title, a damsel in distress. And damsels in distress is a trope that I sometimes defend. I'm not like a big hater. Like, I'm not against it. It's definitely a trope that's a little lazy sometimes. It's a trope that, when executed poorly, is kind of an eyesore to any story. Especially a story as complicated as Kingdom Hearts. Like, you have a series this complicated, or not complicated, but a series with this much depth, this much layers to its story, and you go the damsel in distress route, like for one of your main characters, quote main characters in Kairi, and little to no build up to it either, because you got to think about the situation that happened leading up to her being captured by Xemnas. And in base Kingdom Hearts 3, she got captured by Xemnas. She got quote unquote killed or shattered, crystallized by Xehanort, and the game ended. Like, we knew DLC was coming next year, but we didn't know if it would be good or bad. You know what I mean? So like, the base game ended with Kairi just being gone, Sora chasing after her. We didn't know what was going to happen later. But Kairi became a keyblade wielder in KH2. We saw how she was training with Merlin. They talked about how she was training with Merlin and became a Guardian of Light in Dream Drop Distance. And you had this whole buildup of her being this really powerful or strong guardian of light, and she barely gets a couple of swings in, man. Like, I don't know. It just kind of felt like Kairi didn't live up to any of the hopes and ambitions, among many hopes and ambitions people had for KH3. Kairi was definitely one of them that people were very disappointed by. Personally, though, with as much of a downer and as much like I can talk about that scene and why that scene failed and didn't do much for her character, kind of took her character a couple steps back in some ways to some people. Remind and Melody of Memory, which I kind of combined the two because they came out so close together within the same year, both in 2020, I think improved her character a lot. I think it took what happened in KH3 and I don't know if I'd say fixed it, but it made it gave me closure over it. Seeing her even get a couple of swings in against Semnis, have a cool moment where she breaks like his little lightsabers. It was a cool little moment for her. Just something tiny, something really tiny in the grand scheme of things, but even that was enough than just her being captured and then oop boop, I'm gone. Like what happened in KH3. And then Melody of Memory, I think characterized her so much. A lot of people criticize the scene where Kairi's about to fight Xehanort or fight the Xehanort in her head, and then Sora kind of pops up. People hate that moment. I don't hate that moment. I don't like it either necessarily, but I think aside from that moment, there was so much good that happened in Melody of Memory. People even criticize how Riku basically sent her away. Like, she didn't go to Quadrilla with Riku. People were like, why isn't she in Quadrilla with Riku? The thing is, for her to get, like, good character development, she doesn't need to go from 0 to 100 in, like, 2 seconds. We need to see her, like, struggle, or we need to see her, like, progress in a, I guess, concise way. And I think Melody of Memory
genuine growth. That's the important thing.
Not some like Mary Sue stuff.
I was literally just about to say that because I was gonna mention that because we all know realistically, like looking at all the Guardians, Kairi is not one of the few Guardians that could actually stand up to Master Xehanort. She's not, right? Not to try and go into power scaling in Kingdom Hearts, or at least not right now. But like realistically, the only people that could stand up to Master Xehanort is Sora, Riku, Mickey, Aqua, and Terra. That's it.
You could say she okay. I'm surprised at Terra a little bit. Terra could stand up to Xehanort.
Terra beat Master Xehanort. Let's not forget that.
I mean, Lingering Woe did.
No, he beat Old Man Master Xehanort, and then he beat Terra Xehanort. Like, I will give credit where credit is due.
Nah, but Xehanort was totally throwing in that fight. Like, he was trolling. He was trolling
Not
Terra.
as Terra Xehanort, though. Not as Terra Xehanort.
I guess you're right. I'll give Lingering Woe the dub.
Either way, right? Like those specific 5, those are the people with the best chance of beating Master Xehanort. So obviously, everyone knows if Kairi were to try and defeat Master Xehanort and succeed, even if it was a figment of her memory, people would either call her a Mary Sue, call Xehanort a fraud, or both. Because it's like, how do you take a character that could barely stand up to Xemnas, somehow be able to beat the end-all be-all Master Xehanort, right? And like, I completely agree. And also, with Riku sending Kairi away, right, it's this idea that like she understands her position. And if she were to go to Quadratum, like one of two things would happen. Either she doesn't do anything because she's too weak, in which case, why did we bring her in the first place? Or 2, she is carrying, but it came out of nowhere, and again, she becomes a Mary Sue. We need to avoid that. So, because like with Sora and Riku and everyone else, we see genuine growth. So when we see what they're capable of, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think like I do think she has a clear path to become powerful fast, which I'll get on in a little bit. But I think like her becoming a character, like if she did go to Quadratum and just was wrecking house, like don't get me wrong, Remind, really fun playing as her. She seemed really powerful in Remind. That training Merlin gave her like definitely did a little bit of work, but I actually think if she just became like powerful out of nowhere, I kind of, to a degree, think it might be worse than even what she is right now, because it needs to make sense. And even if it's something little, like she has a clear path to become powerful quick, she has a clear path to catch up to them. Which that path, in my opinion, is she's one of the, along with Ventus, she's the only pure-hearted like Keyblade wielder, and I feel like, I theorize, this is based off of a theory, they need to do something with like her being a princess of heart and a Keyblade wielder at the same time. That has to be the first time that's ever happened in the Kingdom Hearts universe. Period. Right? Like it just has to be, and that I think could make her way more in tune with her light than someone like Sora, someone like Riku, someone like Aqua. And through that, because she's so in tune with her light, because she's so in tune with her heart, being a princess of heart, that's kind of like her mastery, her skill level. If she opens up that power, like on some Gohan stuff, she has like that hidden potential. I think if she can realize that, if Aqua can make her realize that, then she can go to Quadram, then she could wreck house, then she can, like, do her thing. But she needs to realize that first. She needs to get there first. It shouldn't just like happen all of a sudden.
Like, and that's why I really think that a Kairi game, like Dream Drop Distance or something like that, would be really good for Kairi. Again, looking at the Kingdom Hearts Reconnect video I made, the whole point of that video was like to essentially build up Kairi to a level that could stand up to or stand with Sora and Riku or whoever they're about to face and have it seem genuine. I had her visit different worlds, and every world had characters that were either just really strong that would be really difficult to deal with, or were characters that Sora had already dealt with before, so that would be a good test of what she's capable of. That was the whole point of like a lot of the world selection that I did for that video, and that's what I think needs to happen for Kairi. She needs to go on her own journey that we witness and see what she is capable of and see her grow. Because I would definitely love to see a Kairi game where she starts out like maybe as good as she was during Remind, obviously knocking down Magic to its base tier, but then by the time we get to Endgame, she is pulling off crap that we didn't think what she was capable of.
Exactly. I I wanted to ask, so what do you think are the main problems Kyrie has, like, with her character? Like, what's the main thing that you would say is her problem, or just even if it's a list of things?
One is screen time.
Totally, completely agree.
So that's honestly like the main kicker when it comes to any character that you think is not being handled that well. It's simply due to screen time, because when Nomura gives someone screen time, he like he makes sure like they are pulling off stuff to make them like to make their screen time worth it.
Yeah.
You look at Axel throughout Chain of Memories of Kingdom Hearts 2, you're like, who could beat this man? Because he was all over the place throughout both of those games.
Oh yeah,
And
and Chain of Memories Axel was a menace.
Chain of Memories Axel was a straight up menace.
Yeah, that was main
And
villain Axel for a second.
like honestly, and even when you take someone like Shion, right? Shion was only really present in two games, 358 and 3. But she basically took half the screen time of 358. So her growth felt genuine, especially when there was a lore reason why she was getting so strong so fast.
Exactly.
But Kairi, she's present in one kinda, but obviously she didn't have a Keyblade. And then she finally gets a Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 2, but at that point she's at endgame. She's not doing anything to Xemnas. And then she isn't there for Dream Drop Distance, so she doesn't have another opportunity for growth like Sora and Riku did during that game. And then she does training off screen in Kingdom Hearts 3, but again, it is off screen, so we don't see the growth. We don't know how strong she, like, what she's capable of. We're only told, like, oh yeah, like, she's green when it comes to being a keyboard wielder, but she's got potential. Okay, show me. But because they're too focused on everything else with Endgame and Kingdom Hearts 3, because that was the priority at the time, and I don't blame them, they didn't really have time to show off what Kairi was capable of.
I gotta say,
That's where Remind came in.
her cutscenes with Axel, I enjoyed them, and I talk about this every once in a while to my channel and stream. Um, I think when Kairi is on screen, she's a very enjoyable character. So I 100% think her number one problem among like a couple more is screen time. Like I would debatably even say that that might just completely outclass any other problem you might think she has. Like we could talk about her character development. We could talk about like her being a damsel in distress. We can talk about like her interactions or lack of interactions with Riku. But I really think screen time is like the fixer to all those problems, because when you have more screen time, there's more things to fill that screen time with. Kairi is a character who basically is exclusive to number titles. She has one cutscene in Birth by Sleep as a kid, and then she has another cutscene in Dream Drop Distance where she doesn't even speak. Aside from like those games and little tiny moments in some other side titles, like she doesn't really have anything amounting to more than like a couple of minutes in non-numbered games. Numbered titles are the main games where she gets most of her screen time, and even then, obviously in numbered titles, everyone's a sideline to Sora for the most part, you know. So like, I really think that screen time is her biggest issue. And I actually made a video 5 years ago that I rediscovered recently, because I didn't forget I made this video, but I like it was in the back of my mind for sure. And I rediscovered this, and I'm like, okay, I made a chart or like a tiny little graphic back in the day showing how much screen time she has in these other games. And from what I remember, Kingdom Hearts 1 was like around 30-40 minutes. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 was around 40 minutes, and Kingdom Hearts 3 was at over an hour. And that's only because Kingdom Hearts 3's cutscenes are just super freaking long. And these aren't exact like second by second moments she's on screen, but just cutscenes she's involved in. So that's what KH3's amounts to. KH3 just has a lot of long cutscenes. KH2 does as well, but KH2 has a lot of like tinier cutscenes. It actually has like the most cutscenes in the Kingdom Hearts series still, I think. But like she technically has some of the most screen time in KH3. Yet that is the game that's probably the most divisive with her. People aren't as divisive when it comes to KH1 Kairi or KH2 Kairi. And a big reason why is because we're so early on in the series that there's not really that much to criticize. Kingdom Hearts 2, there's only one game between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, you know? And even in Chain of Memories, like, you could say, well, Chain of Memories isn't all about Kairi. It kind of is, because, like, Naminé is Kairi's nobody, and Kairi is the person Sora can't remember, because Naminé is, like, taking that memory away. Like, you could say the game is about Kairi in a very, like, loose way, right? Like, that whole, like, first 3 games of Kingdom Hearts, she's not, like, present at every single second, but she has a very important, like, moments in the plot that feel effective, that the viewer acknowledges, and she feels like an important character. Now, you look at every game after Kingdom Hearts 2, and it's like, you know, we're being introduced to something. We're being introduced to the Birth by Sleep show. We're being introduced to like concepts like the realm of sleep in Dream Drop Distance. We're being introduced to the Days trio. We're being introduced to like all these new elements in the series. And Kairi kind of takes a backseat during all these games where so much of the story is like, you know, adding up, coming together. Xehanort gets introduced. We finally know who like the main villain of Kingdom Hearts is. I don't know. We learn more about the Data World, the Sleeping World, Dream Eaters. The story expands like a lot. Like the story grows. Riku gets a ton of character development in Dream Drop Distance, and Kairi is this character who's like, she literally gets pretty much nothing after Kingdom Hearts 2. I'd say the biggest thing she got was that scene with Aqua. And then they give her a Keyblade on top of this, but I think they wrote themselves a little bit into a pickle giving her a Keyblade, because I kind of don't think she should have had one, if I'm being honest. But now that she does have one, they have to accept it. So like now it's like, all right, you wanted Kairi to have a Keyblade to be this combat warrior, then shoot, what are you gonna do? Which I think leads us into our next topic. What are you hoping out of her in Kingdom Hearts 4?
I am hoping that one, she is playable. Two, if she honestly, if she pulls off some Avengers like entrance, like Roxas did in Kingdom Hearts 3, and
Ooh.
just like clears like a wave of enemies or like clears a really strong enemy just out of nowhere, that would be goaded, right? Um but I honestly think a good thing for Kairi would be dedicating the prologue to her.
Yeah, that's what people want in KH3. We were hoping they would go that route in KH3. They didn't do it, unfortunately. But uh, I think this is a perfect time. Aqua, Kairi, like shoot. If you're worried about Kairi not being super interesting, shoot, Aqua's right there. Who I don't think there's that many. I don't think there's many Kingdom Hearts fans who will be mad at Aqua being involved in the prologue or Aqua being one of the first things you see. You know?
Yeah, I think I I think now is a good time for that, just because the last thing we see before going into Kingdom Hearts 4 is Kairi talking about how she's going to be studying under Master Aqua.
Yeah.
So it's like that would be a good segue into the prologue, because with Kingdom Hearts 3 it was a little different. Just because, yeah, they set up Riku and Kairi going off in their separate journeys, but obviously with Kingdom Hearts 3 the main focus was Sora. So they had to because the way they set up the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3 is like, oh well, Sora has to go to Olympus in order to try and regain his lost strength. So obviously that's like a big thing, and we all know that Sora being lost in Quadratum and learning his way around the world with Strelitzia, that is a big thing too. But if you dedicate a part of the prologue to Kairi, and maybe make it to where Kairi is going through like some really tough training and is trying to make her way to Quadratum,
Yeah.
like, and the whole prologue is just getting to Quadratum, that would be a nice little segue, because like as soon as Kyrie lands in Quadratum, then we just move on over to Sora, and then it's like, okay, now he's woken up at Quadratum, and now he's doing all this stuff that he's doing, and then it's just a matter of playing until we see the two reunite in Quadratum.
I I feel like Kyrie. I think the best. I think like a route I would go with for her is wait, like maybe don't even have her go to Quadram in KH4 until the end. I don't know how long they're going to drag out the Quadram thing. I don't know if we think they're going to. I don't know if they're going to save Sora in KH4 and like have him return home at the end of KH4, or if they're going to do a thing where they do a cliffhanger ending for KH4, which leads into Verum Rex, which leads into KH5, and then KH5 is the end of the Lost Master saga or the end of the series, because we have to talk more once to end the series soon. Um, I feel like a good route with Kyrie is maybe potentially drag it out a little bit. Wait for her to get into Quadram. Wait till like the end of KH4. We see her train. We see her like fight with Master Aqua. Riku and Sora are in Quadram right now. So the leading the leading like character in the Destiny trio who's in the Realm of Light is Kairi. I think Kairi should be the one like pushing things in the Realm of Light. You also have Aqua, Terra, Ventus. They're in the Realm of Darkness. We don't know for how long, but they're in the Realm of Darkness or were in Limit Cut. So how exactly is that going to work? Where does that leave Kairi exactly? We're not super duper sure. I I basically think you write this story to where you make Kyrie's moment where she comes to Quadratum as big of a deal as possible, because she wants her end goal should be to chase after Sora and Riku, and it shouldn't be to run into Sora and Riku and be a damsel in distress. even though I kind of think they're leading towards that, and the reason I think they're leading towards that is because you remember that cutscene in Melody of Memory where Xehanort said, if you end up in a world neither of light or darkness, but somewhere on the other side, we have failed. A very eerie freaking cutscene, man. We don't know what that means. And to me, I almost interpret this because he's saying this to Kairi. I almost interpret this as similar to like how in Union Cross, Maleficent was the spark. Like the moment Maleficent arrived in Daybreak Town, that's when the calamity started. That's when the world, like, when that was like the thing in the timeline that set off everything, right? Uh, I kind of feel like they're writing that for Kairi. Like, there's something in the world or in the universe, in the timeline, and in fate, where Kairi is not supposed to end up in Quadram. And if she does, something bad's going to happen. And I don't want Kairi to be put into that situation, but I kind of feel like something might happen with that. But I hope they pull a double, a double twist on us with that.
You could also argue that Kyrie being sent to like not to Quadratum, but simply using the lifeboat is like it's basically what started like a long chain of events. Like Kyrie was the catalyst for a lot of the stuff that was happening.
Ooh.
Um, because we all know that when Maleficent used it, she was the spark for everything. But it was simply I don't know if it was simply due to the fact that she left the data world or the fact that she used the lifeboat to begin with, but one of the two is the reason why Data Daybreak Town started to break. So you could argue that it's the same logic with Kairi, that her using the lifeboat or leaving Radiant Garden is basically a catalyst for a lot of the stuff happening. Um, so yeah, it's possible. I also think, John, what you said is possible, that when Kyrie goes to Quadratum, it could be that, if she goes there, that would end up causing like a big like cataclysm between the two worlds, especially when you take because we don't know if the darkness beings are there, but I think with the presence of a pure light and a pure darkness in the same universe, completely mess with that could completely mess with the whole structure of unreality, since it is a universe that doesn't rely on light and darkness.
Kairi is one of the, like, how Ventus was like, he, I don't know if we can say he defeated a darkness, but he subdued one. I don't know. I don't know what term you want to use, but he definitely saved the dandelions for sure, right? The other Union leaders in that scene where he kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I still don't understand what happened in this scene in Union Cross where Ventus, like, he's comatose, he found out the stuff about Strelitzia, he's passed out, and then he wakes up and he's just like, I'm a pure light, I'm a cook you, and then he sends the darkness somewhere. I think that's when Vanitas gets inside of his heart and that happens, but Ventus, I guess you could say, trapped a darkness within his heart or something. Something happened there where he stopped that fight. They all would have died if Ventus didn't do something, right? What if Ventus, Kairi are some of the only characters who can, like, reliably fight against the darknesses? That's actually an interesting duo, Ventus and Kairi. That might be something they play with in the future.
That's actually something I've thought about before, but I think when it came to the darkness beings, like, I think I have to look at the cutscene again, but I'm pretty sure everyone was saying like, oh, like, not even like nothing can truly defeat us because we are formless.
Yeah,
And Ven's like, the point is not to defeat you, the point is just to lock you up. So that's what he does. He uses his ability as a pure light to subdue the darkness being, but I'm not fully sure if Ventus and Kyrie would both be able to do that. Ventus can because we saw him do it, But Ventus's status as a light being is different from Kairi because Kairi is a light being because she basically is housing one of the seven light fragments of the Keyblade within
Yeah,
her. But
she never passed it on.
Ventus is a light being because the darkness being basically took all of the darkness out of him.
I don't know if they straight up said that. To be honest, that is very like finicky because if there we don't have a full explanation on if Ventus is just a pure heart, like if he was just born that way and that's what made him such a good host because he had no darkness in him otherwise, or if like darkness did just take all the darkness for him, and so it's not that Ventus is a pure heart or a pure light, but rather that's all he has left, light. It's kind of confusing in my that's one of the parts that I'm a little iffy on.
So another thing with Kyrie is I want to see her interact with more people
A hundred
because
percent.
at this point, by melody memory, when looking at the main cast, the only people I have seen her talk to is Riku and Sora and Axel. I don't think she's had any lines. Oh no, she did talk to Aqua,
She needs to
but
interact with more
that's it.
people. Her character is very tied to Sora, and I think she needs more characterization outside of Sora, which is actually what I liked about KH3. I didn't fully elaborate on what exactly I liked about her character in 3 before, but in KH3, her character she actually gets characterized separate from Sora a little bit, you know, even if it's just in tiny moments. Like for example, like when she talks about Naminé and how Naminé is like, you know, in her heart and stuff, or you know, she exists out there somewhere in the ethos, and Kairi is basically saying how she feels for Naminé. She understands that Naminé should like be able to live and feel the wind on her face. Like she had all these interactions with Naminé and Cage too. They kind of like saved each other, sort of, kind of, you know. Um, but like it's cool just seeing her talk about other characters in that way because it shows you that okay, she's not only just thinking about freaking Sora 100% of the time. You know what I mean? We know Sora and Kairi, like we know they're a thing. They're best friends or whatever you want to call them, right? Uh, Sora Kairi's character needs to exist outside of Sora, similar to how even though Sora's whole motivation, whole goal, the reason he started this journey is because of Kairi. Sora obviously has many relationships, many dynamics with Roxas, with Riku, with Axel. He even has a little tiny thing with Aqua and 0.2 and Birth by Sleep. Like I feel like that's important for any character because characters grow when you see them interact and contrast with other characters, whether they're different or similar to them. And Kyra needs more of that. So, yeah, interact with more characters, please.
And honestly, like it's not just Kyrie, if I'm being honest, it's like other characters. I want to see them interact with other characters as well.
Yeah, like the
Because
returning people.
you take someone like Roxas, um, like I liked how he talked to Ventus a little bit, but I would like to see him talk to uh the other two members of the Wayfinder trio. Heck, if we look at uh some of the files for Remind, or not Remind, but KH3, apparently there was initially a team attack between Sora, Terra, and Roxas. Three characters you would never expect to interact with each other.
Well, you said there was a team attack for that?
There was in the files, there is a file name that like its designation was tied as a team attack with Roxas and Terra involved.
Really? That's so
Yes.
interesting. And what fight would that even happened in?
I
Was that in Remind or in
legit do
Base
not.
Cage 3?
I don't know. I forget if it's in Remind or Base Cage 3. I can see it like in one of Nomura's previous drafts for the ending. Um, he came up with that, but then chose to scrap it just because of how he wanted to deal with Terra and Roxas. Since there's no real way to incorporate the both of them in a team attack like that without just completely changing the way the ending is. But the point is there needs to be more interactions with a lot of these other characters, not just Kairi, but Kairi is definitely a major one because the characters that we see interacting with the most, like most of the other main cast, is Sora, Riku, and now at this point, Aqua. Because Aqua not only has interacted with the whole Wayfinder trio, because those are her friends, she has interacted with all of the Destiny trio, and she's even had some conversations here and there with Axel. Right. So the only characters that are missing at this point are Shion and Roxas, and they basically don't talk to anyone that isn't Sora or each other or Axel.
You know, a fun fact about Kairi and her screen time in Kingdom Hearts. Uh, Shion apparently has as much, if not more, screen time as Kairi does throughout the entire series, and Kairi's been
That's
around since
sad.
TH1.
That's so sad. That is
That
so
that is
sad.
actually crazy. Now, obviously, a lot of it is from Days, the game, as well. But she has a lot of moments. She has a lot of screen time. Like
Shion
you
has
said,
a voiced line in Dream Drop Distance compared to Kairi.
Shion has a voice line in Dream Drop compared. That's crazy. That's actually insane. Dude, Kyrie's is getting shafted. Like, I actually think a lot of the female cage characters are really good. Like, I love Xion. I love Aqua. Like, I think those two characters especially are really good. I think Naminé is super underrated. Very, very good character. I would love to see more of Naminé. I think Naminé might actually have a bigger role in the future than some people might think. But I'll elaborate on that another day. Um, I don't know. Aside from that, though, I kind of think this wraps up the Kairi episode. You have anything else you want to say about Kairi, her position in Kingdom Hearts?
Uh, Nomura, please look at Kingdom Hearts Reconnect for inspiration. I'm begging you.
I was literally just about to say, yo, my last comment will be, yo, go watch Kingdom Hearts Reconnect. Go watch Noir's video. I'll be sure to link it down below in the description or pin it in the comment section. But with that, thank you guys so very much for watching. My name is Prodigy.
My name's Arlo Bomber.
And remember to be nice, be safe, and take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.